There comes a moment in every man's life when the chase stops feeling exciting and starts feeling empty. At first, he doesn't notice it. He still has the confidence, the wit, the ability to charm. He still knows how to play the game and win. But somewhere between the late nights, the shallow conversations, and the endless cycle of beginnings that lead nowhere, something inside him shifts. It's not sudden, it's quiet, like the way seasons change. One day, he wakes up and realizes the thrill he once felt from the pursuit has faded into fatigue. The texts, the dates, the constant proving of worth, it all feels like noise now. For years, the chase was his fuel. It made him feel alive, wanted, and powerful, but after 40, that same game begins to feel different. The excitement is still there in theory, but the cost has become too high. The energy it takes to chase, to impress, to decode, to pretend, starts to outweigh the reward. So he pauses, and for the first time, instead of chasing someone else, he starts to look inward. What really changed? Is it just age? Or is it something deeper? The truth is, after 40, a man begins to experience a psychological evolution that no one prepares him for. His priorities shift. His values sharpen. His definition of winning changes completely. In his 20s and 30s, the world rewarded pursuit. It applauded the hustle in work, in relationships, in everything. The man who chased hardest was seen as ambitious, driven, and desirable. But after decades of chasing goals, people, dreams, he learned something that youth never taught him. Not everything worth having must be pursued. The best things come through stillness. This realization doesn't come from bitterness. It comes from experience, from heartbreaks that taught him peace is priceless, from victories that showed him success means nothing if your soul is tired, from mistakes that revealed that not every connection deserves your energy. At 40, the body slows down, yes, but the mind sharpens. The emotions deepen. The noise of life quiets just enough for him to hear his own truth. He's no longer running toward love. He's walking toward peace. The chase once made him feel alive. Now it makes him feel drained. He doesn't crave excitement anymore. He craves stability. He doesn't want sparks. He wants warmth. He doesn't want attention. He wants understanding. And that shift, that subtle but powerful turn inward, marks the beginning of his evolution. He stops asking, "How can I win her over?" and starts asking, "How does she make me feel?" It's not about giving up on love. It's about redefining it. Because for the first time, he's no longer chasing to prove something to the world. He's choosing to protect something within himself. This is the turning point, the quiet awakening, when a man realizes that his peace is worth more than the pursuit. In a man's 20s and 30s, the chase feels electric. Every new connection, every text that gets a response, every date that ends in laughter, it lights up his brain like fireworks. The attention feels like proof of his worth. The validation becomes his fuel. The unknown gives him a thrill that keeps him coming back for more. He doesn't question it. He's built for it. At that age, his biology and psychology are in sync with the pursuit. The brain releases dopamine, the neurotransmitter of reward, each time something new happens. A match, a kiss, a conquest. It's not love that keeps him chasing. It's the chemical high of anticipation. But like any drug, the more he gets, the less it satisfies. With time, the rush fades. The same game that once made him feel alive now leaves him feeling depleted. He's not broken. He's simply evolved. The chase runs on the same fuel that drives ambition and competition. But in his 40s, that fuel begins to burn differently. Now, the late-night conversations feel repetitive. The small talk that once felt flirty now feels empty. He can predict the entire script, the compliments, the hesitation, the eventual distance. He's seen it all before. The mystery that once excited him has turned into routine. He starts to realize that the problem isn't the women, it's the cycle. He's running the same emotional marathon with different faces, never really arriving anywhere that feels like home. That's the psychology of dopamine fatigue. It's what happens when too many short-term rewards have overstimulated the brain. In youth, he was chasing novelty, the spark of the new. But as he matures, his nervous system begins to crave something deeper: peace, predictability, and meaning. The endless highs of pursuit no longer satisfy the man who has tasted the stability of self-control. The very thing that once gave him energy now drains it. The same thrill that once made him feel powerful now leaves him restless. The chase has become work, emotional labor that no longer pays off. He finds himself sitting across from someone new, smiling politely, while part of his mind whispers, "You've been here before," not just in a place, but in a pattern. The fuel that powered him before now burns him out. In his 20s, he could lose sleep over someone he barely knew. In his 30s, he could tolerate the inconsistency and still call it passion. But in his 40s, his patience has limits. His time feels heavier now. Every hour spent in uncertainty feels like energy stolen from something meaningful. So he begins to withdraw, not out of bitterness, but preservation. His silence isn't cynicism, it's wisdom. He has learned that constant pursuit comes with a hidden cost: emotional exhaustion, loss of focus, and a slow erosion of self. And when a man finally sees the price tag attached to the game, he stops playing for entertainment and starts protecting his peace like treasure. Because one day, he wakes up and realizes the real thrill was never in the chase. It's in the calm that follows when he finally stops running. When a man reaches his 40s, something remarkable begins to happen. He no longer measures his days by how much he can get, but by how calm he can stay. Peace, once a word that sounded dull or even weak, becomes the rarest luxury he knows. After years of chasing, proving, and performing, he starts to understand that true success isn't about addition. It's about subtracting chaos, subtracting noise, subtracting the people and habits that keep him restless. He has spent half his life chasing external rewards: money, attention, validation. But the further he ran, the emptier he often felt. The high of new attention faded, the thrill of conquest vanished, and what was left was silence, a silence that used to scare him. Now, that silence feels sacred, because peace is not something a man finds, it's something he builds, brick by boundary. He begins to notice that drama costs him more than it's worth. Arguments that used to ignite him now feel like emotional taxes he can't afford. The unpredictable woman who once fascinated him now feels like an earthquake he doesn't want to live through twice. He values steadiness over intensity, calm over chemistry. At this age, peace becomes his filter. He no longer asks, "Is she excited?" He asks, "Is she safe for my spirit?" He protects his mornings, his coffee, his routine, his quiet time, with a kind of reverence, because he knows what it took to create them. Years of learning, losing, and unlearning. The peace he has now is the product of 1,000 lessons paid for in pain. This is why men over 40 often step back from the chase. They are no longer hungry for adrenaline. They are hungry for alignment. They crave women, friends, and environments that match their peace, not challenge it. You see, peace isn't passive. It's the highest form of power. It means being in control of your energy, your reactions, and your boundaries. And once a man tastes that, chaos becomes unbearable. He doesn't need to win arguments. He doesn't need to prove his worth. He doesn't need to compete for attention. He finally realizes that anything that disturbs his peace is too expensive. And here's the quiet truth most people miss. Peaceful men are not unloving. They're selective. They've learned that the right relationship shouldn't feel like walking on eggshells. It should feel like coming home after a long day. So when he stops chasing, it's not because he's lost his love interest. It's because he's learned that love without peace isn't love at all. It's dependency, it's exhaustion, it's noise. He's not running away from connection. He's simply guarding the sanctuary he's built inside himself. And for the man who's finally found that sanctuary, nothing and no one is worth losing it for again. In his younger years, A man often views love as a conquest. He wants to win her attention, earn her admiration, and prove himself through her validation. Every successful pursuit feels like a trophy, not because he's cruel or shallow, but because that's what youth teaches him. The world rewards the hunter, not the gardener. In his 20s and 30s, he's fueled by dopamine, the brain's pleasure chemical that fires in moments of novelty, anticipation, and pursuit. Each new text, each flirtatious smile, each challenge to overcome gives him that surge of excitement. It's a game that thrives on adrenaline, the chase, the uncertainty, the feeling of winning her over. But with age, that same thrill begins to lose its meaning. At 40 and beyond, something deeper takes over. The rush of dopamine gives way to the calm of oxytocin, the chemical of trust, safety, and connection. His biology evolves to match his spirit. He no longer craves the chase. He craves peace in someone's presence. He no longer wants a conquest. He wants companionship. Because at this stage, winning looks different. Winning is no longer about how quickly he can make her fall. It's about how deeply they can stand together. Winning is not in the attention he gets. It's in the tranquility he feels when he's with her. The ego no longer needs to be fed. It needs to be understood. He starts to measure relationships by a new metric: energy balance. Does this connection recharge me or drain me? Does this love bring calm or chaos? Does this woman see who I am, not who I can perform to be? He stops needing to impress. He stops performing. He starts listening, observing, and feeling. In his youth, love was a competition. In maturity, love becomes collaboration. He's no longer the warrior charging into battle. He's the builder crafting something that lasts. And that shift, from ego-driven conquest to soul-level connection, is one of the quiet revolutions of manhood. It's not that he's lost passion. It's that he's learned the difference between fire that warms and fire that burns. He no longer confuses tension for chemistry or unpredictability for excitement. He wants a woman whose presence feels steady, not because it's boring, but because it's safe. That safety allows him to open up, to rest, to love more deeply than he ever could when he was chasing illusions. At 40, a man begins to see love the way a craftsman sees his work, with patience, care, and purpose. He understands that what is rushed will break, and what is nurtured will endure. He no longer wants the woman who shines the brightest for a moment. He wants the one who stands beside him through the storms. Because at this stage, real connection isn't about the conquest of hearts. It's about the meeting of souls. And when a man reaches that point, he finally realizes the greatest victory is not winning someone. It's finding peace with someone who never makes you feel like you have to compete. By the time a man reaches his 40s, he has spent decades building a career, a reputation, a home. He's learned to pay his bills, fix his own problems, and live with his own thoughts. What once felt like loneliness has quietly become contentment. This is the moment when self-sufficiency stops being a survival skill and becomes a source of strength. He no longer wakes up hoping that someone will fill the spaces inside him. Those spaces are already full, with purpose, habits, memories, and peace. When he was younger, love often carried an unspoken need. He wanted to feel complete through someone else. He needed the reassurance that he mattered, that he was desired, that his life was moving somewhere. But with time, he's discovered that the most stable foundation isn't shared. It's internal. A self-sufficient man doesn't need a woman to make his life better. He wants a woman whose presence adds to the good life he already has. That difference changes everything. It changes how he dates, how he gives, and how he chooses. He no longer chases to escape loneliness. He chooses from abundance. He's not trying to be rescued from boredom or emptiness. He's protecting the peace he worked years to build. That peace is his anchor, his compass, and his standard. This self-sufficiency doesn't make him cold. It makes him clear, because now he sees relationships for what they really are. Partnerships, not lifelines. He values a woman who is also whole on her own, someone who can stand beside him, not behind him or above him. He's not intimidated by independence. He's drawn to it. Because two fulfilled people create a bond based on choice, not desperation. They come together not because they need to, but because they want to. And that's the purest kind of love. When a man becomes self-sufficient, his energy changes. He moves more slowly. He speaks with intention. He's no longer in a hurry to prove anything. He knows his worth quietly, in how he carries himself, in the peace he refuses to give away, in the calm that follows him wherever he goes. And because he doesn't depend on anyone else for happiness, he becomes magnetic. Women feel it. People feel it. That stillness, that quiet confidence, it draws others in more than any chase ever could. Self-sufficiency doesn't isolate him. It liberates him. It gives him the freedom to love without fear, to give without losing himself, and to walk away when something no longer aligns with his peace. So, when you see a man over 40 who no longer runs after every opportunity, understand this. He's not rejecting love. He's refining it. He's not avoiding connection. He's protecting his balance. Because a man who has built his own happiness isn't looking for someone to complete him. He's simply waiting for someone whose presence feels like home and whose silence sounds like peace. By the time a man reaches 40, love is no longer a blind leap. It's a measured decision, not because he's cold or afraid, but because experience has taught him what can be lost when the wrong person is let in. He's been through enough to know that every connection carries a cost. In his 20s, he risked everything without a second thought. Emotions, money, all in the name of love or excitement. But with age comes perspective. Now he understands that not every risk is worth the return. When a man in his 40s meets someone new, his mind no longer races with fantasy. It calculates, not out of fear, but from wisdom. He asks quiet questions that younger men rarely consider. How will this person affect my peace? Can I trust her with my time, my home, my heart? Does she add clarity or chaos? He's not being cynical. He's being careful. Because he knows that love, when mishandled, can cost him more than money. It can cost him years of progress, emotional stability, and inner balance. At this stage, the stakes are higher. He's worked too long to rebuild after heartbreaks, to recover from financial setbacks, to establish the routine and order that keeps him grounded. He's seen what happens when passion overrides prudence, and he has no intention of repeating that lesson. The calculated risk begins with awareness. He knows that chemistry can cloud judgment, that attraction, no matter how powerful, fades if the foundation isn't right. So he observes before he invests. He listens to patterns, not promises. He studies consistency more than charm. And if something feels off, even slightly, he doesn't chase clarity through chaos anymore. He steps back because peace has become his currency, and he's no longer willing to spend it carelessly. There's also the financial awareness that naturally comes with maturity. A man who has built something, a business, a home, a life, knows how fragile stability can be. He has perhaps been through the emotional cost of divorce or the quiet pain of being taken for granted. So now, he protects his resources as fiercely as his heart, not because he's stingy, but because he understands that true partnership requires alignment in values, not dependence. And then there's the emotional risk, the hardest one of all. At 40, heartbreak hits differently. It's not just about losing love. It's about losing time, trust, and energy that can't be easily replaced. Younger men can rebound through distraction. Older men reflect deeply. That's why they're selective, even cautious. His caution isn't disinterested. It's respect for the life he's built. It's wisdom dressed as patience. So when you see a man who doesn't rush in, don't mistake his calm for coldness. He's not afraid to love. He's afraid to lose himself in the wrong kind of love again. For him, connection is no longer a gamble. It's an investment. And he's learned that the most valuable investments aren't made in moments of excitement, but in the quiet conviction that this time, it's safe to stay. There comes a time when a man no longer runs after what's temporary. He walks, slowly, intentionally, toward what feels lasting. That's not a weakness. That's wisdom. After 40, pursuit no longer looks like constant motion. It's not the wild chase, the restless texts, or the need to prove himself worthy. It's quiet now, measured. He no longer confuses stillness with inaction. He's simply learned that what's meant for him will not require him to lose himself to keep it. This is the new pursuit. It's not about chasing women. It's about chasing peace, alignment, and authenticity. He's still capable of passion, still capable of deep love. But the way he expresses it has changed. He's not chasing to conquer. He's walking to connect. Because now, he knows the truth. The right woman won't need to be hunted. She'll meet him halfway, walking her own path of growth, bringing her own peace to the table. In his youth, pursuit was powered by adrenaline. Now, it's powered by purpose. Back then, it was about chemistry. Now, it's about compatibility. He no longer asks, "Can I win her?" He asks, "Can we build something that feels like home?" This new pursuit is steady. It's grounded in self-awareness, in emotional intelligence, and in patience. He's not in a rush because he knows that anything rushed rarely lasts. He understands that love built on calm foundations endures longer than passion built on chaos. In this new chapter, pursuit becomes a mirror, a reflection of who he's become. He no longer measures success by who he can attract, but by what kind of energy he keeps around him. He protects his boundaries the way he once protected his ego. He values mutual effort, mutual growth, and mutual peace. He's done chasing illusions, the fantasy of perfection, the high of novelty, the games of uncertainty. He's learned that peace is the ultimate prize, that real love doesn't drain him, it steadies him, that the right partner doesn't ignite chaos, she amplifies calm. So he walks, not runs. He listens more than he speaks. He observes before he invests. And when he finally chooses, he chooses fully, with clarity and depth. Because now he understands. The point of love isn't to chase harder. It's to choose wiser. And if you ask him today what pursuit means, he'll tell you this. Pursuit is not about chasing someone who keeps running. It's about walking in peace until you find the one who's walking at the same pace. That's the evolution. That's the growth. That's what it means to be a man who has lived, lost, learned, and finally arrived. He's no longer chasing chaos disguised as love. He's waiting for the calm that feels like it, because for a man who's found himself, the only pursuit left is peace. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this every day.